So I know people have found spaces all over the sanctuary, but we're gonna keep this pretty intimate, and we're gonna sit right up here. So if you wouldn't mind kind of coming into this section here, we don't want anybody's view to be blocked, and we don't bite if you come up close to us, and we can have this as a kind of intimate conversation. Welcome, everyone. I hope that you are having, for those who are fasting, an easy fast, and for all of us, a meaningful holiday. It's such a pleasure to be up here today for our panel on Jewish journeys. And you can't hear? We might need to get some help on the sound because this is the mic we have. Thank you.
The sound is a little bit, needs to be lifted up a little more volume.
Great, thank you. So sound is being worked on. So we are going to be moderated today by Lauren McLean, and I will hand it over to you.
Welcome, everyone. So every year we get the pleasure of hearing from members of the congregation about their particular Jewish journey, and it's always a wonderful time to get to know each other a little bit better and get to know congregants a little bit better. And so what we'll do is we'll go through the three people who have so kindly agreed to participate today, and then we will open it up for questions and conversations for the time we have, which I believe is until 4. So first, let me introduce Uval Zuckerman, who has been a member of our congregation for about 10 years. He lives in Wayland, but grew up outside of Tel Aviv, so I have a sneaking suspicion that may be part of your Jewish journey. He's the father of 2 boys, 13 and 11, and he's currently a partner at MathWorks, and judging by the opportunity I had to look at his resume, I can tell you that the tech committee of this congregation has been well served because I could not understand a word of your resume, so that must mean you must do amazing work. So thank you.
Thank you. So it was kind of a little bit out of the blue to think about my Jewish journey. I grew up in Israel, mostly in a small town outside of Tel Aviv, not small anymore, like everything in Israel, everything grows very fast. Sorry, I grew up outside of Tel Aviv in a town called Kiryat Ono, which is about 6 miles out of Tel Aviv, but in reality it's like an hour's drive in Israeli traffic. Growing up as a secular Jew in Israel, Jews in Israel in general, the secular Jews, more or less often view it as I'm Jewish enough because I'm in Israel. So I don't necessarily need to practice. And at the same time, even if you do want to practice, the predominant way of being a Jew in Israel, which they very much kind of see themselves as the Jews, is to be an Orthodox Jew. And while there's the Zionist angle to it, in many ways there's a little element of choice. You either do it their way, which is very practice-heavy, tradition-heavy, and in my opinion, in my experience, it was also very values-light. And as a result of that, going to a temple is much less of a positive experience. Like, you don't see people smiling as much during practice. There's not as much, it didn't feel to me like there was as much engagement of the brain. You follow the traditions, you go through the lines, you read the Torah, and you go home. And the community aspects also just were not there. And as a result, as I just told Jeff a moment ago, I visited the temple for my bar mitzvah, and then the next point on my Jewish journey was going to temple with my father-in-law, my wife, and her mom the weekend before our wedding. And it was my first Reform experience, and they took our guitars and piano, and they turned it up to 11 because there you had tambourines and cymbals, and it was such a happy experience and such a happy community, and people were welcoming, and like, in a way, the way Reform is portrayed in Israel is also like this foofy, loose relationship with Judaism. And I'm like, my impression was like, yes, but people are smiling. And when was the last time you've seen someone being Jewish and smiling in a Jewish context, in a temple, and celebrating not only the story of being a Jew, like reading the Torah, but the actual Judaism element of it. And that was eye-opening for me. And when we moved here, we had the kids, and Jill and I both felt very strongly that we needed to give them a Jewish education, a relationship, because in a way we live amongst so many other people and they're welcoming to us, and that's great, but it was important for us to give them a belonging, and not only a community, but just a kind of an anchoring root in the Jewish faith. And again, I was new to this, and we had Rabbi Greg at the time, and he had a very strong element of an outreach to Jews who are not very good in being that Jewish thing or doing it in that way. And again, him and Rabbi Gold, both of them were very welcoming and very open, and the community here is amazing. And it really made me feel that like Judaism does have and it sounds to me stupid right now, but like that we live on a foundation of values that are not only universal, but unique to us and that matter, and that our tradition is there to support those values. And I think now I feel that sense of belonging that I never had growing up, and that I definitely define myself as a Jew, and I believe in, and I'm proud of the values that we all celebrate and we live by. And I think I'm still alive, so my journey is still going on, but it really provided me with an extra layer in life that I was missing. And I think I'm very grateful for that. So thank you, all of you, and for welcoming us.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, and how amazing to discover that sense of Judaism here, having grown up in Israel. It's a wonderful story. I next have the pleasure of introducing Jeff Mayman, who also has been a member of the temple for about 10 years and has served as treasurer and co-chair of spirituality. He grew up as far away as Needham, now lives in Wayland, and there are a couple of things about his background that struck me. First of all, he's the father of twins who are in college, and that reminded me of the story from my daughter's graduation when one of her friends said on graduation day, "My dad always described my being here at Boston College as driving a Mercedes off a cliff every year for 4 years." So I sort of had this picture of four Mercedes, or rather, I'm sorry, 8 Mercedes over 4 years. And I also loved seeing, as somebody, my work involves issues around diversity and inclusion in the workplace, and I was thrilled to see your work as a partner at EY doing gender equity and diversity and corporate social responsibility as part of what you do there. So, look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everyone, and it's nice to see a lot of familiar faces. I do apologize. I'm just getting over a bit of a cold, so bear with me. As was mentioned, I grew up in Needham, and in the 70s, it was a town that I would say had a higher proportion of Jewish people than other towns in the area, but notwithstanding, I did see and experience some amount of anti-Semitism in the school and in the community. And growing up, I felt I was very much part of two worlds. So I was a member of a synagogue, I was active in the youth group there. After my bar mitzvah, I went on to be confirmed, and then I had my non-Jewish friends that I played sports with and other activities, and those two worlds were, for me, very much separate and distinct. They didn't really overlap too much. So that was sort of, I would say, a little bit how my Jewish journey began. My grandparents and parents weren't very observant or very religious. We had family dinner on Friday nights, but we didn't really observe Shabbat in that sense. My great-grandparents, and I was blessed to have known 3 of them, so I knew all my grandparents till I was in my 20s, and my great-grandparents I knew until my early teens, were from the old country, so my impressions of them that they were more observant, they felt their religion and experienced religion, I think, a little bit differently. My grandparents and their siblings, I think, assimilated to life in the U.S., and they were very active in the Jewish community. So while I describe them as not being especially religious, they were, I had a strong sense of what it meant to be Jewish and to be part of the Jewish community and to give back to Jewish organizations and be part of that community. So I would say my family experience sort of reinforced that. But I would say, like, although I identified as a Jew, and you use the expression secular Jew, which perhaps means something a little bit different in the Israeli context, that's sort of, those were the same words that I used to describe myself, that I identified as a Jew, but I didn't feel especially religious as a younger person. So I continued my Jewish education, as I mentioned, through my confirmation. I had a wonderful rabbi, Rabbi Slavkin at Temple Beth Shalom in Needham, and he was a very warm, loving man. In confirmation class, we studied Torah, and he taught a lot of philosophy. We studied the Midrash, we studied Buber. So again, it was very intellectually stimulating for me. And looking back, I think that education informed the values that I grew up with, but I didn't feel that connection to Judaism in terms of it really informing my life. I promise I won't go through every year of my existence, but I did. We have to what, 5:30? Did you say? Yeah. So I attended the University of Pennsylvania. Again, it's a community with a relatively high proportion of Jewish students, but I didn't find a Jewish home there. I wasn't active in Hillel. I had Jewish friends and non-Jewish friends. I was consumed with my studies and sports and other activities that probably are best left unmentioned. But I had a very full, rich, scholastic experience, but it wasn't a particularly Jewish experience. And then again, I would say my young adult years were very focused on career and other endeavors, but again, not remarkable in a Jewish journey, context. At that stage, I met the woman who was to become my wife. She wasn't Jewish and decided to convert of her own volition. And so we attended Introduction to Judaism. And it was such a revelation to me to study Judaism as an adult. I think I've shared this story with some that I felt like I must have been asleep or missed most of religious school, because it was just so much more meaningful and so much more impactful to study my faith and the traditions and the holidays as an adult when I was there for a more joyous reason and not because I had to be when I probably would have preferred to have been somewhere else. So I would say that the Jewish spark in me probably was rekindled a bit, through that experience. I joined Temple Shir Tikva, as you mentioned, about 10 years ago, and prior to that, I had lived in Holland, so I have done a little bit of traveling between Needham and Wayland. And a couple of experiences in Holland really struck me. We joined a synagogue in The Hague, not too far from our house, and the first year when we attended the High Holiday services, there were security guards armed with machine guns. And so that was the second time I'd had that experience. And our bags were checked, we were asked for our IDs. And so I began to, I think, more fully appreciate what it meant to be a Jew in America and have that freedom to practice my religion without fear of persecution. And so I think that was really profound, and I just felt really fortunate to be able to be part of the Jewish community in Holland. I think I also had a different sense for what the Holocaust must have meant being in Europe at that time than maybe what I had felt about that growing up. So I have to say I feel like I've had a very blessed life. As I approach my 50th birthday, which was several years ago now, I had everything really by Western standards that I could ever have dreamed of having. I had a beautiful home. I had a very rewarding and lucrative career. I had 2 great kids. And yet for me, I knew there was something missing. I couldn't define what that was. And at about the same time, the temple started our Center for Spirituality, which I got involved with. And I had the opportunity really to begin to study Judaism in a different way. I studied Jewish mysticism and meditation. I was doing a lot of reading. I was attending the scholar in residence programs that we had. I attended Musar classes here and other programs. And I think I began to have a very different sense about it, what it meant to be a Jew. And in particular, the concept of tikkun olam really began to resonate for me. And I realized that what had been missing was not having done as much as I perhaps wish I had to repair the world, to give back, to be of service. And I think that discovery and that concept is just so inherently Jewish, but something that I didn't take away in my earlier years. And so I think over the last few years, my journey has really been informed by that desire to be of service to others and to give back to my community and to share the blessings that I've enjoyed. Last but not least, like you, my journey is not over. And so I'm very excited to be going on the trip to Israel with our community next month. I think that will be perhaps the highlight up until now of my journey, and I'm sure it will deepen my connection not only to our homeland, but to my faith. So thank you.
Thank you. So it will surprise no one to know that Rabbi Jordy's background includes an enormous expertise and engagement in the Israeli and American Jewish communities, which I'm sure she'll share much of that with us, some of that with us. What time do we have until? A couple of things, though, did strike me looking at her background. First, that you had gone to, in addition to rabbinical school, to Harvard Divinity School, which I thought was amazing. And also, I was struck by, on the website where it talks about your investment in creating community rooted in values of inclusion, learning, and social justice, in which each person is welcomed, honored, and supported for who they are, because that so infuses everything that you do here and do for us in this community. And I was also struck by the fact that when I was looking at your background, that we are officially nearing the end of your second High Holidays services with us, and I thought, I did a little double take thinking that just cannot be. It feels as though you have been a part of this community and been with us forever. So it's such a joy to have you here and to feel like you've been a part of us for such a very long time.
Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, it was a little hard, unlike, I know Yuval, you said that you hadn't thought much about your Jewish journey before. Obviously, I think I've thought a lot about my Jewish journey, although the story I usually tell is the story of how I became a rabbi, and that's a little bit of a different story. And in terms of my Jewish journey, I want to start out by saying what each of you said, which is I'm still in the middle, and it might look like from my resume or from the fact that I'm up here on the bima on a regular basis that it's obvious that I was going to become a rabbi or that my Jewish journey ends in that, and very much not. So Jewishly, I would say, as I thought about this question, I've been somebody who has often kind of struggled against the flow of the stream and have eventually, over and over and over in my life, had to figure out that I need to just let go and go with the stream. Or another way, a rabbinic way to look at that would be I spend a lot of time wrestling and then, like Jacob overnight, and then waking up in the morning and saying, I just need to go with it. So I identified a few different struggle areas for myself in my Jewish experience that have then ended up leading me to what I feel I was supposed to be doing Jewishly. First, I grew up in Claremont, California, which is a college town in Southern California. It's a wonderful, beautiful place. It looks like a New England college town. It is not a very Jewish area. My family was part of Temple Beth Israel in Pomona, which drew from a lot of towns in the surrounding area, kind of like Temple Shir Tikva does. But it was the only joint in town. There was one other synagogue, which was a conservative synagogue, which was a few towns away. But our synagogue was Reform, and it drew most of the population if people were Jewish. But growing up in my elementary school, there would be one or two other Jews in any class I was in. And I knew from a very, very young age, I understood that I was not like the other kids around. And there are stories about me from about age 4 where strangers would ask me what Santa brought me for Christmas. And apparently I would go into long explanations about how Santa didn't come to my house, but what we did instead and why that was okay and why that, and so apparently I've been a Jewish educator for most of my life. But at home I had, I was raised in a really active Jewish environment with my family. My mom was part of the temple choir. I think she started the choir. My dad was on the temple board. The rabbi that I mostly grew up with was hired in our living room. We also grew up eating shrimp. We grew up visiting my grandmother in Shreveport, Louisiana, which is where she grew up and my dad grew up, and that's where we would go and eat bacon and shrimp, and it was very much a part of course, this is what you do. And I was a kid who seemed very much to struggle with the discrepancy between what it meant to be in the world in general that I knew and being Jewish. And when I was 6 or 7, there was a Passover arts competition at Temple Beth Israel, my synagogue, and I wrote a book for it and illustrated it, and I still have a copy somewhere, but I couldn't find it to bring it, called The Lonely Rainbow That Was Jewish. And it was about a rainbow who went all over the world looking for his right colors. And our Sunday school principal, our religious school principal, Marilyn Labarsky, read this book, and I don't know what she saw in it, but she said, "You are going to be a rabbi when you grow up." And I have mostly spent time since then fighting that idea, but I was, the idea got planted very, very early. And meanwhile, at synagogue itself, although I felt very, very at home there were things that I found I really struggled with as well. So some of you have heard the story from me that when I was probably 6 or 7 years old, I went to my rabbi and said, so I heard the story about Adam and Eve, and they had 2 sons, and then one of them was killed, but then how are all the rest of us here? And my rabbi said, "Don't worry about it." And I didn't stop worrying about it. I mean, I didn't obsess about where the rest of people came from, but the idea that that didn't seem like a very good answer to me. And I've spent a lot of time since trying to figure out how do we answer questions about what it means to be Jewish. I didn't frame it in that way at that point, but that's been an ongoing theme. And I remember being in high holiday services, sitting next to my dad, mom on the bima in the choir, and reading through the Machzor probably around age 11 or 12 and saying, well, but that's not true, and that's not true, and fidgeting a lot in services, and my father saying, you have to stop fidgeting, and my saying, but I don't agree with what this says, and he said, oh, it had just never occurred to him. He thought I was being restless and annoying. So that kind of struggle kept going on, and yet I somehow kept feeling drawn back and back and back to something in Judaism. And when I was in high school, I had the chance, my dad was a professor. He's now retired. He had a sabbatical in Oxford in England, and I had the chance to go and study religion, because in my high school there, where we were for a semester, I had the chance to take a religious studies class, and we were going to be studying the New Testament. And I was very worked up about that idea. I wanted to. I also had grown up in an environment that didn't really like the idea of Jewish people so much. Nothing blatant, but just I felt very different. And that year, when I was 16, I had the chance to read the New Testament and said, wait a minute, Jesus is this very nice guy. And all of this energy that I had put into feeling so different, all of a sudden just needed to dispel and disperse and say, wait a minute, if I've been fighting about being different, but I don't even know who I am, and I don't even know enough about Judaism to really feel at home in it. So I spent the next several years, well, through the rest of high school and college and after college, really trying to figure out what Judaism had to say for itself. And the next area of struggle I wanted to mention was about my own learning and leadership and my confusion around what I knew and didn't know, and which also goes to being around people who were from different Jewish backgrounds than I. So when I was in high school, a couple of years later, I had the chance to go on a program to Israel for the summer. It's called Nesiyah, and it was a pluralistic Jewish program, so there were students from all sorts of different Jewish backgrounds and Israelis as well. And it was the first time that summer that I had ever had the chance to engage in Jewish text study. And there was something we were reading. I was with a group of friends, and the instructor, the rabbi who was teaching us, asked us for some interpretation of a text, and I raised my hand and I said, here's what I see in this text. And a friend of mine who'd grown up Orthodox said, well, but that's not what Rashi says. And I realized I had no idea who Rashi was. And I had spent my whole life at synagogue and going to camp and all of those things, and in a very Jewish home, and yet I didn't have something basic that obviously was basic because of how he said it to me. And I also understood in that moment that if he could only understand the text the way that Rashi said it, then I knew something he didn't know. And so I determined that I really needed to go find out who Rashi was, sidebar, medieval commentator, but I also needed to own my own authority. So I don't want to tell my story all afternoon long, but I'm happy to share it in other ways. I went on, after college, I spent time in Israel with a program called Project Otzma, where I really wanted to learn Israeli society and learn as much Hebrew as I could. I then spent a year studying at the conservative yeshiva, where I wanted to immerse myself in text. And the whole time I was there, throughout my 20s, I really said, I'm never going to be a rabbi. I'd understood that that was not something that was a good job, because you have to be all things to all people all the time, and because most people spend, or at least my family would spend car rides home from synagogue disagreeing with what the rabbi had said from the bima. And so why would I do that? But after those years in Israel, I worked for Hillel for a while. I just kept coming back to working in the Jewish community and doing things in Jewish education, kind of despite myself. I couldn't figure out what else I was supposed to be doing, and it kept calling to me. And I had read in high school the book The Search for God at Harvard, and had fallen in love with the idea of Harvard Divinity School. And I got to a point where I needed to figure out what I was going to do next, and I decided to stall. So I had the opportunity to go get a master's at Harvard Divinity School, and I took the opportunity. And it was, once again, an experience of immersing myself in being different. And out of that, I discovered that I wanted to spend my time being in Jewish community full-time. And I was doing a lot of teaching during that time in the Jewish community, and people kept telling me they saw me as their rabbi. So I basically gave in and said, if I'm going to be a rabbi, I need to do it with the with the colleagues and the skills that I need. And so I did go to rabbinical school, but my journey is still very, very much going on. And a few of the areas where my sense of struggle and needing to learn again and again to go with the tide, one has been around my relationship with my husband, with Seth. Seth and I went to college together, and he's given me permission to share this. We kind of dated in college, but not really, and I will say that was largely because I had an idea in my head, which was that I would only date someone who was Jewish, and because I had a romantic ideal of that. And when we re-met at our 10-year reunion, 10 years after graduation, and I said, wait a minute, it's been that guy all along. And we started kind of dating from across the country and then visiting each other. And we had a very intense conversation where I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do. I was in rabbinical school at the time. And what was I going to do with the fact that I was wanting to date this guy who was not Jewish, who grew up Quaker? And he has his own story, which he can tell up here sometime. But the end of that story, or beginning of our story in that way, is that after having flubbed a number of ways of how to talk to him about it, I finally said, wait a minute, Judaism is something I love, and I think you would love it too. Would you be willing to explore it? And he said, what took you so long to ask? And I had to let go of my ideal of this image of what life was supposed to be as a Jewish person or even as a rabbi, and to say, wait a minute, I could just go with this, and has led to, I would say, a gift of a Jewish home. And I think as a parent, this is less of a struggle, but I want to share because of how people often assume about what it means to live in a rabbinic home. We have kids who some of you have gotten to know a little bit. We have 5 and 7-year-olds, and they are kids who do not want to stick around to be blessed. When we do Shabbat dinner, they run away. They are, all up in arms about it. So we have a Jewish home, but it's something that we are constantly trying to play with. What does it mean to live this Jewish life without putting a huge amount of pressure on them? And finally, I'll share that I think the big part of the going against the tide and kind of trying to go with the tide that I'm in now is a real question about how I think about God. And I am not somebody, growing up my whole Jewish life, I'd say possibly even through rabbinical school, there was actually very little conversation about God. And I'm thinking a lot about what I mean when I say that word. It's not a word that I feel particularly connected with, even though I use it I use that word with knowing that I feel connection to something, and I have other words that I use for that. But the word God in particular, even though I would say I use it ritually, I use it professionally, it's a concept that I struggle with, and I think that the struggle about that for me is very important. And yet, I would say I'm really aware of the number of things in my life, of opportunities that have presented themselves over and over again, messages that I have kind of been put on the right path to what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing again and again, that I don't know if I would call that God, but I call it something. And ultimately, I say, for me, that's kind of tapping into that same river, into that flow. So that's where I'm at now, and to be continued.
Thank you. That was wonderful to share that. Thank you. I'm always struck in these conversations by the similarities in so many ways in people's journeys, the questioning, the conflicts, the difficulty of defining oneself and thinking about the differences between success and fulfillment. There's just so much commonality in all of these conversations, regardless of people's backgrounds and how they got here. In the few minutes that we have left, it would be wonderful to open this up as a conversation with all of you. So any questions, comments, reflections would be perfect right now. Yes? Please speak up, though, or whatever.
I'm new to the setting here. This was my first high holiday.
Do you want to say your name? Here, why don't you grab it?
Okay. I'm Joel Langsam. I'm new to the setting. My fiance and I have lived in Marlborough, or moved to Marlborough at the beginning of 2018. And in a sense, we've moved, for a brief while, we went to the synagogue down the street, and it's been a new experience. It's interesting, however, to listen to Rabbi Jody. She's helped me think about, and maybe why I raised my hand here. I'm now in my early 60s. I have 2 grown children who are out on their own. And raised them in Peabody on the North Shore after coming here to Massachusetts almost 40 years ago. I romanticize, using your word, about being Jewish. My first marriage had to be someone who was Jewish, and it was. And we were very active in the synagogue Reform congregation in Peabody for many years. I was very active on the board. My first wife, Lisa, unfortunately, she died of ALS, having suffered through ALS back in 2006. So it really changed my life at that point. I had an 11-year-old at the time that I had to raise on my own. So I took quite a while to figure out where I was at. I joined Shirat Hayam after a certain point on the North Shore, which is a conservative synagogue, and that gave me a whole further perspective, that romanticizing about faith. But changed everything is meeting Marie back in 2016, who's Catholic, and moving in a totally different way with my faith, keeping my Judaism, but listening here, where to go from here, total changing everything. And the impact it had on my children, seeing me doing this, and of course moving out here is a whole new change. So I was impressed by hearing your discussions, and it's gotten me thinking. So I'll leave it there.
Thanks for sharing. Other, yes?
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'll try to speak loud. Thank you. Hi, I'm Rachel. This is my first time coming to the synagogue, although I've been very involved, or not very, but I've been involved in the Jewish community around the Metro West area for my whole life. While not being in a Jewish or a very religious household, I was raised in a conservative temple where my parents got married, and definitely felt like that force of having to be religious at Hebrew school. But then I would go home and not really, we never really practiced Shabbat. We would too also have a Friday night dinner, but really never went beyond that. I would go to synagogue only for Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah. And it wasn't until a few years ago when I made Aliyah and moved to Israel that I really got to kind of experience what you were sharing earlier. I was kind of chuckling when you spoke about the living in a place like that, not having to be super religious, because just living there is kind of my me serving being Jewish. And it just got me thinking about maybe what it was like for you growing up. you know, I have friends that are still living in Israel right now, and specifically in Tel Aviv, that are walking down the streets with their bicycles because all the roads are closed right now. And that was like what we would do for the 2 years that I was in Israel. They were the only 2 years that I did not go to synagogue. And you know, now that I'm back, this is my first holiday back in the States. I wanted to come here today, but it's definitely a different experience of how I perceived being Jewish. I would say I'm more of a culturally Jewish person than I am of a religious Jewish person, and I'm grateful for that because just like in anything, you know, when you feel forced to do something, at least for myself, you don't really want to do it. But when you feel like you're a part of something, it's a completely different, I have a completely different outlook. So I'm proud of the experiences that I've had, and I'm proud of the upbringing that I had, so I can kind of feel both aspects of it. But like I said, what I initially thought it was to be Jewish was something completely different once I lived over there. And now coming back, I am grateful to be back in this synagogue. But like I said, with a different outlook. So thank you. And I don't know if we have time for you to share a little bit about those days on the road for you, but on the streets.
I think we end up being, thank you. I think what kind of bothers me frequently is that the Jews in Israel are not as good being Jews value-wise as Jews who have to live among the Gentiles. The fact that there are refugees who escape or horrible persecution in Africa, they're not welcome there. That the country is flourishing and there's lots of wealth there. And never mind the fact that there's also poverty. The country is kind of in need or on the way of becoming a very multicultural place, especially in Tel Aviv. And they're rejecting that. There's a big push and pull around what's a Jewish, if Israel should be a Jewish country first, if it shouldn't be a Jewish country, what about the Arabs living there, and thank God it's a democracy, so it's still a discussion, but I think the values are kind of lost a little bit.
So I think this is, to me, like a really fascinating topic, Yuval. So the question I have is in Israel. So assuming we have what we have here in the U.S., okay, where we have a reform movement, where there's joy, music, instruments, happiness, meaning, values, etc., not just the rote prayer. I know that there is a small movement, there is a small reform movement in Israel. And I don't know if I'm not so sure about the conservative movement, but I know that there are Reformed Jews and there are Reformed synagogues in Israel. I'm just curious to know as to why secular Israelis wouldn't be wanting potentially to grasp onto something like that. Like, why would they be resistant to a different Jewish experience? Is it just because they're terrified of the ultra-Orthodox, or like, what's the deal with that?
I think, at least in my opinion, the part of the draw for Jews living not among Jews is the community, the sense of community that you have. And over there, you just don't need that because everybody's Jewish. At the same time, and to keep more of a positive angle about it, that you study the Bible in school. And generally, if you have a good teacher, it is good, but it's almost like the way that you are introduced to Jewish culture is not through the head, it's like the rote repetition. I think for me, it was very illuminating. I actually was in a school where we were asked to read the writings of Rashi, and not only read it, but also read it in he has a variant of the Hebrew language that he's using, like the writing, the alphabet. And he really explains things differently, but there's just not enough of an approach to the values. It's like Israel also is trying very much to be a country like any other country, and avoid the state where Israel was in when I was growing up, which was relatively isolated. And in my opinion, in that rush, and especially in Tel Aviv, the rush to be like everybody else, kind of nobody's going, like there's just no need to be super Jewish because that differentiates us again. So it's kind of like be like everybody else and not enough like why being Jewish is so special on the values side. So it's a great question. Just I wish I had the answer.
I'm just amazed there are no deep philosophical questions about Needham.
Is it quick? Because we're at the end. Did you have a question or a quick one?
Oh, so actually, unfortunately, we do have to wrap up because our next service is starting in 10 minutes. But I think all of us would be very, very happy to continue the conversation one-on-one.
Sorry, I'm always like, oh no, it's fine. So thank you very much for coming. I think that we owe a debt of gratitude to all of you for sharing your stories, for all of you likewise, and being here. And I think we all, I hope, leave with a real pride and gratitude to being part of a congregation where there is such devotion to community and learning and caring. And that's what I take away from this. So thank you all.
Thank you. And thank you, Lauren, for leading us today. Thank you all. Welcome back. The old story goes that there was once a rabbi who disappeared every year on Yom Kippur. Instead of showing up at the little shul in his village, he would be absent for hours as the services went on without him. The people always whispered about where he might have gone, and some thought that maybe he was visiting heaven. But Shmuel, the skeptic, thought that there must be something more mundane about the rabbi's whereabouts. So one year, he hid outside the rabbi's home on Yom Kippur morning to see what would happen. Wouldn't you know, first thing in the morning, the rabbi did something very mundane. He came out of his house carrying a bag, and he headed in the opposite direction from the synagogue. Shmuel followed him as he entered the woods. There, the rabbi stopped and changed out of his Yom Kippur white attire and put on a pair of heavy boots, a jacket, and pulled out an axe. He looked like a poor woodcutter, and in fact, that was just what the rabbi started to do. For several hours, he cut down trees and turned them into firewood. Then he bundled the wood and carried it on his back deeper into the forest, to a small run-down hut in the forest. He knocked on the door of that small hut, and a feeble voice answered from within, "Who's there?" "It is I, the woodcutter," the rabbi answered gruffly. "I have some wood for you." Shmuel peeked through the window and saw a very old and bedridden woman. "I'm sorry," she said, "but I have no money to pay for any wood." "Look, ma'am," the rabbi said gruffly. I already cut the wood and I don't want to carry it any further. I'll just come in and put it down here. You can pay me sometime later. Without waiting for the old woman to respond, the rabbi did just as he said. He went inside. He put the firewood near the fire, relit the fire in the fireplace, made the old woman a bowl of soup, and tucked her neatly into her bed. Shmuel didn't wait around. He ran back to the shul where the people were whispering, the rabbi disappeared again. I think maybe he's in heaven. And Shmuel smiled at them and said, no, he's gone even higher. Our Yom Kippur Day is laid out as one long service with many peaks and valleys. Sometimes we ascend, and sometimes we descend into the valley of tears. As we continue with our afternoon service, followed by Yizkor and then with Neilah, the closing of the gates, may we make our way through our prayers this afternoon, ascending and ascending even higher, all the way to heaven and beyond. Our afternoon service starts with the reading of the Torah, and we rise as we are able as we go and open the ark.
What page?
Page 329.
Baruch Eloheinu Shebranu L'Kvodo.
Baruch Eloheinu Shebranu L'Kvodo. Baruch Eloheinu Shebranu L'Kvodo.
Odapon, Odapon. Odapon, Odapon. Baruch Eloheinu Shebranu L'Kvodo L'Kvodo. V'higdi lanu min hatoim. V'higdi lanu min hatoim. Odapon, Odapon. Odapam, Odapam. V'higdi lanu min hatoim, min hatoim. V'natan lanu Torat emet. V'natan lanu Torat emet, Torat emet. Odapam, Odapam. Odapam, Odapam. V'natan lanu Torat emet, Torat emet. V'chaye olam nata b'tocheinu. V'chaye olam nata b'tocheinu, b'tocheinu. Odapam, Odapam. Odapam, Odapam. V'chaye olam nata b'tocheinu, b'tocheinu.
It turns out we're already at the part of the Yom Kippur Afternoon when we're a little wonky. And I have here somewhere in my book, I promise, something I was going to say. I found it. Our Yom Kippur Afternoon reading is from a section of the Torah known as the Holiness Code, which outlines some of our most important commandments about how we can best take care of each other in community. We learn here that our most sacred obligations are to each other, and that they are both about chesed, loving kindness, and tzedek, justice. As is our custom here, we read this passage from one of our community's Torah scrolls that was rescued from the Holocaust. To get to read this passage from this scroll reminds us of what is at stake when others are treated as less than human, and of what power we have to rise. Our Torah reading today can be found here somewhere on page 338. And for our Torah reader for our first two aliyot will be Matt Langweber. And for our first aliyah, Yamod Yitzchak ben Yaakov v'Leah la'aliyat haTorah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. Daber el kol adat b'nei Yisrael. Yamat alehem kedoshim to you. Ki kadosh ani Adonai Elechem. Ish imo ve'aviv tira'u. Ve'et shabtotai tishmaru. Ani Adonai Elechem. Al tifnu el ha'elilim ve'lohe masecha. Lo ta'asu lachem. Ani Adonai Elechem.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam notah b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
This is from line 9. Amen.
We're going to wait for Aliyah.
Oh, fair. I'm very anxious.
You did great. For our next aliyah, Ya'amdu, Sarah Ba'Elezer Miriam, Beruven Ben Abraham V'Sara Aliyat HaTorah. And our next aliyah begins at verse 9.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol hamim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ukutrechem et ketziratchem lo techale ve'atzarecha liktzur v'leket ketzircha lo telaked v'chamcha lo teolel uferet kamcha lo telaked ve'ani v'lager ta'azovotam ani Adonai Elechem. Lo tignovu v'lo techachashu v'lo teshakru ish bi'amito v'lo tishavu b'ishmi l'shaker v'chilalta et shem Elohecha ani Adonai lo ta'asok et re'acha v'lo tigzol lo talin pulat zachir idcha ad boker lo tekalel cheresh v'lifnei iver lo titein misho v'yarei tamel hecha ani Adonai lo ta'asu avel b'mishpat lo tisa p'nei dal lo tedar p'nei gado b'tzedek tishpot amitecha lo telech rachil be'amecha lo ta'amod al dam re'echa Ani Adonai, lo tisna et achicha bilvavecha, hocheach tochach et amitecha, v'lo tisa alav chet, lo tikom v'lo titur et b'nei amecha, v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, ani Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
For our third aliyah and our final aliyah of Yom Kippur, we wanted to give the honor to all of us here who have made it so far through our day. So if you feel that you would like to participate in this aliyah, we call you all now. You may stay where you are seated, but join with us in the blessing from your place in the community.
I need my reading glasses.
Here, is that these? Is that
Those are, I forgot to have my reading glasses. I'm anxious too.
Yamdu kol kahila. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. mipnei tzeva takun, v'hadarta b'nei zaken, v'yareita me'elohecha, ani Adonai, v'chi agur etchem, ger b'artzachem, lo tonu oto, aberecha, mevid Elohecha, Hagar, Hello tavu, Elam Elohecha, Hagar, Idchem, Ve'ahavta lo kamocha, Ki gerim, Herim, Ve'eretz Mitzrayim, Ani Adonai Elohechem. Lo tasu avel, B'mishpat, B'amidah, B'mishkan, V'masura, Moznei Tzedek, Avnei Tzedek, Ephod Tzedek, V'hin Tzedek, V'hi Lachem, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher Hotzeti Etchem, Me'eretz Mitzrayim, Ushmartem Otchal, Hukutai, V'et Kol Mishpatai, V'asitem, Itzchel, Ani Adonai.
Olam nata betochenu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah. We call up our Hagba and Galila for lifting and dressing the Torah. Yamdu, Hawagbia v'Hagolalat. And we rise as we are able as the Torah is lifted.
V'zot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael. Al pi Adonai biyad Moshe. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Kidding me. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai 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 lai 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 lai
You may be seated. Jonah is a prophet who does not want to be a prophet. He has a destiny to be something greater than himself when all he really wants to do is just to go back to bed. Don't we all have a little bit of Jonah inside us? There are things that we know we should do, things that we know are the right thing to do, and we make so many excuses to ourselves so as not to do them. When Jonah finally does what he's supposed to and prophesies, prophesies, whatever the word is, to the people of Nineveh, when he tells them to change their wicked ways, it's almost too easy. The people he preaches to immediately repent and start doing exactly what they should. all that buildup Jonah had in his head about how hard it was going to be, if he'd just done what he knew he was supposed to do in the first place, he could have gone to Nineveh, chastised the people, gotten them to repent, and been back home under the covers in no time. Instead, he complained, traveled in the wrong direction, endangered others and himself, had to live inside a giant fish for 3 days, and then ended up doing the thing that he should have done in the first place. Just reading this story again this year reminds me of the phone calls, emails, cards, and visits I've been putting off because I think I'd rather have been doing anything else, when really it was in my power just to do the right thing all along. Our Haftarah will be read by Cantor Jeff Stock. Our blessing can be found on page 342, followed by Jonah on the following page.
So the story is, it's a rather lengthy story, so it's been recommended to me by the clergy here to chant, to chant chapter 1, and then at my recommendation, I will conclude with Micah on page 350, which is the end, and you can follow along at your leisure. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza v'divreihem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Vayehi devar Adonai El Yonah ben Amitai lemor kum lech el Nineveh ha'ir hagdola ukra aleha ki alta ra'atam lefanai. Vayakom Yonah livroach Tarshisha milifnei Adonai. Vayered Yafo vayimtza Oniyah ba'Tarshish. Vayitein schara Vayered ba lavo amihem Tarshisha milifnei Adonai. Vadonai heitil ruach gedola el hayam. Vayehi sa'ar gadol bayam. והאונייה חישבה להישבר, ויראו המלאכים, ויזעקו איש אלוהיו, ויטילו את הכלים אשר באונייה אל הים להקל מעליהם. ויונה ירד אל ירכתי הספינה וישכב וירדם. ויקרב אליו רב החובל, ויאמר לו, מה לך נרדם? קום קרא אל אלוהיך, אולי יתעשת האלוהים לנו ולא נאבד. ויאמרו איש אל רעהו, לכו ונפילה גורלות ונדעה בשל מי הרעה הזאת לנו, ויפילו גורלות ויפול הגורל על יונה. ויאמרו אליו, הגידה נא לנו באשר למי הרעה הזאת לנו, מה מלאכתך ומאין תבוא, מה ארצך ואיזה עם אתה. ויאמר עליהם, עברי אנוכי, ואת אדוני אלוהי השמיים אני ירא, אשר עשה את הים ואת היבשה. ויראו האנשים יראה גדולה, ויאמרו אליו, מה זאת עשית? כי ידעו האנשים כי מלפני אדוני הוא בורח, כי הגיד להם. ויאמרו אליו, מה נעשה לך? וישתוק הים מעלינו, כי הים הולך וסוער. ויאמר עליהם, שאוני והטילוני אל הים, וישתוק הים מעליכם, כי יודע אני, כי ושלי השר הגדול הזה עליכם. ויחתרו האנשים להשיב אל היבשה, ולא יכולו, כי הים הולך וסוער עליהם. ויקראו אל אדוני ויאמרו, אנא אדוני, אל נא נאבדה בנפש האיש הזה, ואל תיתן עלינו דם נקי, כי אתה אדוני כאשר חפצת עשית. ויישאו את יונה ותילוהו אל הים, ויעמוד הים מזפו. ויראו האנשים יראה גדולה את אדוני, vayizbechu zevach ladonai, vayidru nidarim. Page 350. Mi el kamocha, nosei avon, ve'over al pesha, lisherit nachalato, lo hechezik la'adapo, ki chafetz chesed hu. Yashuv yerachamenu, ichbosh avonoteinu, v'tashlich bimtzulot yam kol chatotam. Titein emet liYaakov, chesed liAvraham, asher nishbata lavoteinu mimei kedem. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzadik bechol hadorot, ha'el hane'eman ha'omer ve'yoseh, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום הכיפורים הזה, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, למחילה וסליחה ולכפרה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד, ודברך אמת וקיים לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני. מלך מוחל וסולח לעוונותינו, ולעוונות עמו בית ישראל, ומעביר אשמותינו בכל שנה ושנה. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל ויום הכיפורים.
We turn to page 352 and we rise as we are able as we return the Torah to the Ark.
Vishamayim vayarem kerem le'amo, techinam lechol chasidam, livnei Yisrael am kerubo. Hallelujah.
We remain standing and turn to page 356, facing towards the east for the Amidah.
Adonai sifatai tiftach u'fia tehillatcha, eternal God, open my lips, and my mouth may declare your glory.
Page 360.
Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah.
Page 364.
Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayim itim atah rav lehoshia. ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים.
We continue with the Kedusha on page 368.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי
If you'll please be seated, we turn to page 510 in our Machzor. Long ago, one word on the lips of one person, in one place at one moment, brought together four dimensions of the holy. When the high priest would enter the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur and utter the name of God. And now, every place where we lift our eyes to God is a Holy of Holies. Created in the image of God, we are all high priests. Every day of our life lived in love is a Yom Kippur. Every word that we speak in truth is the name of God. We pray from the Holy of Holies in our hearts. Our God and God of all generations before us, may it be your will in the coming year to grant us, we read responsively, a year of abundance and atonement, a year of blessings bestowed on us, a year of community and compassion, a year of delight and exaltation, a year of enlightenment, a year of friendship and forgiveness, a year of going up in gladness to the land of Israel, a year of health and healing and humor, a year of inner strength and well-being, a year of joy and Jewish celebration, a year of knowledge and learning for its own sake, a year of love between parents and children, friends and spouses, brothers and sisters, a year of mitzvot and moments of sweetness, a year of nature protected and joy, a year of optimism and hope, a year of peace pursued with perseverance, a year of quiet and tranquility, a year of rain and season, a year of song and spiritual growth, a year of Torah study and tikkun olam, a year of understanding and unity, a year of vows fulfilled and violence overcome, a year of wisdom acquired and shared, a year of coexistence among the families of the earth, a year of young and old reaching out to one another, a year of Zion and global life for us and all the world. Eloheinu ve'Elohei Doratenu, bifrosh shana chadasha ol mecha, ana ten b'libeinu l'hodot u'lehalel l'shem kodshecha, al hagdula b'virchotecha, al madnat hachayim shenatata b'kirbeinu. Our God and God of the generations before us, Grant us a year of gratitude to you for the most profound of blessings, your gift of life. Faith does not spring out of nothing. It comes with the discovery of the holy dimension of our existence. We take a moment now before we begin our Yizkor service. As we turn to page 540 in our Machzor, we come to this service of Yizkor, this opportunity to take a moment now for memory and remembrance. We begin by singing Eli Eli. This is the hour of memory, and this is our house of comfort. Wounded by loss, we retreat from life. Our synagogue gathers us in. Into this place we bring stories and prayers, unanswered questions, tears that need to be shed, lives recollected and carried within us, moments of courage and laughter and pain. This day embraces them all. This place embraces us all. Now the heart opens in sorrow, for we are time subjects, and all that we love we must lose. So let us hold fast to the love that remains and cherish the light of the sun. Today all of us walk the mourner's path. Together may we find strength. We turn to page 544.
Shiviti Adonai lenegdi tamid ki mimini ba'emot lachin samach libi vayagel kevodi af besari shkon lavetach ki lo tazaf nafshi אין חסידך לראות שחט, תודיעני אור החיים, אור החיים. סובה שמחות את פניך, נימות בימינך נצח. שיביתי אדוני לנגדי תמיד, כי מימיני בל אמות.
A woodpecker taps. First day of the year you did not live to see. Foothills shrouded lightly in fog. Winter rain. Waiting at the station for the tram that goes where you no longer are. These trees you photographed. Why do I see only empty branches? So warm this winter of your death. Beneath our chestnut tree, a clump of snowdrops. Cold rain this first day of spring. I discard can after can of old paint, the plaid shirt you never wore. Soft rain high above the path, we walked, a woodpecker taps and taps again. Whitman wrote, "Look for me under your boot soles," and I do, and you are. We turn to page 552. הם בלבד נותרו לי, רק בהם בלבד, לא ינץ המוות, סכינו החד. They alone are left me, they alone still faithful, for now death can do no more to them. At the bend of the road, at the close of the day, they gather around me silently and walk by my side. This is a bond nothing can ever loosen, what I have lost, what I possess forever. We turn to page 556. The courage that my mother had. The courage that my mother had went with her and is with her still. Rock from New England quarried, now granite on a granite hill. The golden brooch my mother wore, she left behind for me to wear. I have no thing I treasure more, yet it is something I could spare. Oh, if instead she had left me the thing she took into the grave, that courage like a rock which she has no more need of, and I have. We turn to page 567. In the words of Hannah Senesh, יש כוכבים שאורם מגיע ארצה, רק כאשר הם עצמם עבדו ואינם. יש אנשים שזיו זכרם מאיר, כאשר הם עצמם אינם עוד בתוכנו. אורות אלה המבהיקים בחושכת הליל, הם שמרים לאדם את הדרך. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. It's my pleasure now to call our Rabbi Emeritus, Rabbi Herman Blumberg, to share with us some words.
It's always good to be home. I'm grateful to Rabbi Berkman and Rabbi Jordy for sharing their bima with me at this moment. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. This maxim was used frequently by President Barack Obama. He lifted it from speeches of Martin Luther King Jr. and has become popular in many quarters today. In fact, it was written in 1850 by a Protestant minister, and the original is somewhat more nuanced. Today, as we pause for Yizkor to remember, I want to paraphrase the maxim by bringing it from the grand vision of the moral universe bending toward justice to the universe of our individual lives, if you will, striving to bend the arc of our lives toward noble goals, our well-being, and that of our children and theirs, love of life, our impulse toward kindness and compassion and love, always striving to be the best we can be as individuals, and as well contributing to a society built upon the values of freedom, justice, equality of opportunity, decency, and fairness. You may be asking, what does this have to do with Yizkor? My response, everything. For our efforts to bend the arc of our lives toward the good, our efforts are built upon the efforts and the labors and the struggles and the successes of those whom we remember now. In a real sense, we are only continuing the work that they and countless generations before them accomplished. Yes, the arc is long, it moves imperceptibly, but hopefully always toward the welfare of society and all who inhabit it, that those who came before us held forth as a vision and strove to realize. Perhaps this exercise of envisioning the arc of movement towards noble goals will add substance to our remembering and deepen our appreciation for those who are with us now only in spirit. Consider how those whom we now bring to vivid memory tilted this arc for themselves and ultimately for us. Our parents and grandparents worked to raise us in good neighborhoods, with good schools, with economic opportunity. They had a vision of a comfortable and happy life, a menschlich life in a good community, often with considerable effort. Mindfully or not, they tried to move the arc of their lives and our lives a hair further in the right direction. Earlier generations, often at great risk and personal sacrifice, left the ghettos and the Stieblich of Europe with a fervent hope that they and their children could escape poverty and danger. They moved the arc yet another tiny measure forward. And more. So many others touched the arc of our lives for good. teachers who shaped our young and tender minds, professors who shared with us their ideas, their research, their hearts, healthcare professionals, physicians and dentists and nurses and therapists who brought their healing skills to our ailing bodies, assuring our ongoing well-being. Artists, musicians, craftspeople, gardeners, all of whom buoyed our spirits and enriched our souls with their creative works. Camp counselors, friends, mentors, rabbis who offered direction or friendship or encouragement or kindness or just a happy interlude in our journey forward. Leaders of government who envisioned the arc of decency and equality and justice, and with courage and wisdom, they tilted the arc, moving it forward. And then there are the faceless, nameless strangers whose smiles or goodness or talent touched us even for a brief instant in time. And then there are the nameless and faceless millions of our people whose martyred lives stand as witness to how quickly the arc of noble purpose can be thwarted. In remembering them, we strengthen our resolve not to allow that to occur again. In sum, each person in our past, those closest to us and those further away, each of them extending back countless generations and in an ever-widening circle of connections in our own time, touched the arc of our lives. A measure forward, they moved it toward noble purpose. They did so for our sake, and for those who would follow us, a continuous thrust to bend the moral arc of their universe and ours towards justice. And so when we say Zichronam Livracha, we are praying, may we cherish the memory of who they were and how they lived their lives and actions and dreams and tilted the arc of our time in a good direction. A word to underscore reality beyond this wonderful vision. We will not idealize the past. Surely there were very few saints among our ancestors, immediate and distant. They did not always act nobly. Their motives not always altruistic. Most of our heroes had clay feet. No one is ever 100% right or perfect. The exercise of forgiveness can help us here as we forgive those parts of the past and the people in our past for whatever wrongs transpired with them. And also the filter of time offers perspective and understanding. That too can help. To be sure, there may be some whose memory awakens long-suffered wounds, with or without malice, consciously or unknowingly. Some in our immediate past may have hurt us, embittered us, abused us emotionally, or worse. They distorted the positive arc of our lives with their own failings. Here we could catalog inadequate parents, often emotionally wounded people, siblings who in meeting their distorted needs were hurtful to us or worse. teachers, friends, strangers. Neither forgiveness nor the healing of time are helpful here. At this moment, we remember them too, and resolve not to allow their words or actions to lean the arc of our lives backwards. We resolve to work with all our strength not to allow them victory. We will seek out the spiritual and the emotional guidance that can help us to stand straight and lead our lives toward the good. So this hour of remembering can be so much more than a time for nostalgia or longing or sadness for loved ones. The memory of the arc of the journey they traveled, their legacy to us, brings our appreciation for all who touched our lives to a new height. And every time that we perform an act that gently pushes our journey forward, it is as if they live anew, as if they are walking beside us, as if we are willing partners moving the ark together. And yes, in this way, we add a measure of strength to their immortality. May it be so. A personal word. I dedicate these words to my grandfather and namesake, Herman Blumberg, and my parents, Leon and Tilly Blumberg. They tilted the ark a measure forward toward freedom, learning, and decency. Their vision and their labors have given me the privilege of standing here with you this day. Zichronam livracha.
Blessed is the one who is far beyond all the blessings and hymns, all the praises and words of comfort that we speak in the world. And blessed are those who are now far beyond our words, our praise, our voice, even our silence. We use our silence now to find the words we need to express our memory. On the following pages are words we can use to help us in our prayer. We will join back together in a few moments. We turn to page 593 for the 23rd Psalm.
Adonai roi lo echsar bino desheyar bitzeini al meviruchot al meviruchot nafshi shovev yeshovev yancheni v'maglei tzedek yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo Gan kirech begeit salmavet lo irara ki ata imadi shivtecha umishantecha Taruch lefanai, lefanai, shulchan neged sorirai, dishanta vashem roshi kosi Adonai roi lo echsar Adonai roi lo echsar
We read together the translation at the bottom of page 594. With God as my shepherd, I shall not want. The Eternal makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside the still waters, restores my soul, guides me in straight paths for the sake of God's name. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Eternal forever. Page 597. Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Kotsk would say, Ein davar shalem yoter milev shavur. There is nothing more whole than a broken heart. Our loved ones live in our broken hearts, and at times that brings some measure of healing. Their acts of kindness and generosity are the inheritance they leave behind. We feel their absence, but the beauty of their lives abides among us. As it is said, the name of one who has died shall not disappear. Our loved ones' names and their memories will endure among us, and these are the names on our lips and on our hearts. We turn to page 598, and we rise as we are able for El Malei Rachamim.
El Malei Rachamim shochen bamromim Hametzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashechina Im kedushim utehurim kezohar harakeya mazhirim linishmati akirinu shahalhu Balarachamim yastirem b'seter kenafav leolamim Bitzror hachayim et nishmatam Adonai hu nachalatam De'anuhu b'shalom al mishkavam v'nomar Amen.
Merciful God, God Most High, let there be perfect rest for the souls of our loved ones who have gone into eternity. May they find shelter in your presence among the holy and pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold them close to you forever. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May they find a home in you, and may they find rest in peace. And together we say, as we come now to the mourner's Kaddish, we strive to find blessing in the memory of so many in our families and those we love. While we remember them all, we name those members of our community who have died since last Yom Kippur. Roz Bean, Marcy Block, Leanne Gainsborough, Richard Knopping, Kay Ellen Lowenthal, David Mead, Steve Tharler, and Dale Ziskind. And we remember, too, the names of those who died in synagogue shootings here in America. Joyce Feinberg, Lori Gilbert Kay, Richard Gottfried, Rose Mallinger, Jerry Rabinowitz, Cecil Rosenthal, David Rosenthal, Bernice Simon, Sylvan Simon, Daniel Stein, Melvin Wax, and Irving Younger. And we link to theirs the names of those we are remembering today as we recite together the Mourner's Kaddish on page 606. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divarach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, u'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha brichu, le'ela u'le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imru Amen. Osei Shalom B'Romav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel Ve'imru Amen. As we end our Yizkor service now, we take a moment before we begin Neilah for the conclusion of Yom Kippur. Go easy.
Osei Shalom B'Romav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru Amen. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael.
We'll take a moment as everyone is finding their seats, and then we'll begin Neilah in a moment on page 612. Page 612. The long day is over and the gates are closing. Slowly day fades into dusk. Soon the earth will darken. Our bodies weak and weary, our inner strength undiminished. We read together. This day has been a gift, uncluttered time, free from hurry and routine, appointments or assignments, a time to face our sins and imperfections, our dreams and yearnings for the life we want to live, a time to leave the clamor of the world and attend to the voice within. Long ago, the temple gates were locked at dusk. So too, at this hour, the gates of Yom Kippur begin to close. Have we done all that needed to be done? Said everything that needed to be said? The gates of God's compassion never close, but soon enough, our lives close in on us. Now, in the silence of the soul, now, before the holy day comes to an end, release the unshed tears, the deepest prayers locked in our hearts.
the land of your souls. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, over and over. Return again, return again, return to the land of your souls. Return again, return again, return to the land of your souls. Return again, return again, return to the land of your souls. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, over and over. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie,
Page 614.
בשעת הנעילה, קרנה שנת רצון, בהשב שדרית הצאן, והעליבה והעלה, בשעת הנעילה, אל נור העלילה, אל נור העלילה, הנסי לנו בחינה, שעת הנעילה, תזכו לשנים רבות, הבדים והאהבות, בדיצה ובצהלה, בשעת הנעילה, אל נור העלילה, אל נור העלילה, הנסי לנו מחילה, בשעת הנעילה, מיכאל שר ישראל, אליהו וגבריאל, גסרו נגולה, בשעת הנעילה, אל נור העלילה, אל נור העלילה, המציא לנו מחילה, בשעת הנעילה.
Page 618. When I consider the heavens, the work of your hands, when I gaze at the sea of space and its endless array of stars, when I set out to understand this marvel and its maker, your greatness overwhelms me. Your majesty makes me tremble with awe. What are we that you have given us eyes to glimpse your truth? What am I that you have given me a mind to fathom hints at your purpose? We are witnesses to nature's repeated refrains, forests dancing with life, mountains rising like prayers, oceans bursting forth with hymns. In the midst of this beauty, you have placed within humanity two worlds, mortal flesh and immortal soul, finite matter and infinite spirit. You have taught us to live at peace with the earth and with all living beings, and to care for the works of your hands. But something deep within us darkens the soul. In nature, spring follows winter, but human behavior is far less certain. Called to a life of righteousness, we rebel, possessed by arrogance and unrestrained ambition. Again and again, we speak of the struggle between good and evil, love and hate, forgetting that the power to choose is the greatness and glory of our humanity. In our forgetfulness, life loses its beauty, and we hear a voice of judgment. Where are you? How you have fallen. In this hour of Neilah, as day fades into dusk, we hear another voice. It says, Ata noten yad lefoshim, v'mincha peshuta lekabel shavim. You hold out your hand to those who do wrong. Your right hand opens wide to receive those who return. The gates of your forgiveness are open wide. We continue with Chatzi Kaddish on page 20.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ועמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחיי חון ויומי חון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעמה ויאמרו אמן.
We continue with our final Amidah of Yom Kippur, beginning on page 622. We rise as we are able and turn to face the east.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agite hilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai Eloheinu Velohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Ve'Adorah Zochreinu lechaim, melech hafetz b'chaim, v'chitmenu b'sefer ha'chaim, l'mancha Elohim pa'im, v'chitmenu b'sefer ha'chaim, v'chitmenu b'sefer ha'chaim, l'mancha Elohim Chaim. Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai. Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayim iti atah rav le'hoshia. Michamocha el rachamim, zocher yitzrav lachim berachamim, v'ne'eman atah lehachayot mitim, baruch atah Adonai, baruch shemo, mechayei hamitim.
We continue silently now to page 639 with the words on the page or the words of our hearts. You may be seated as you conclude your prayer.
Period, Yodiakon Nistarot, Kovi Shabanot, Lovich Sidakot, Otadri Manecha, Rahim, Alleluia, Malei Zakirot, Noratirot, Solei Hachavonot, Ori Bitzarot, Otadri Manecha, Rahim, Alleluia, Poel Yeshuot, Tzofei Hadidot, Korei Hadorot, Rohi Maravot, Shorei Tefilot, Tirim Deot, Hatanu Lipanecha, Rahim, Alleluia.
We turn to page 652 for our final vidui, our final confession of this Yom Kippur. Anu azei fanim v'ata rachum v'chanun. We read together. We are insolent, but you are compassionate and gracious. We are stubborn and stiff-necked, but you are slow to anger. We persist in doing wrong, but you are the essence of mercy. Our days are a shadow passing by, but you are existence itself, your years never ending. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong.
Ay, 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 ay,
What can we say to you whose existence is beyond time and space? What words of ours can reach your realm, beyond the clouds, beyond heaven itself? Every hidden mystery, every revelation, surely you know them all. We turn to page 659 for Hakarat HaTov, recognizing the good. Ahavnu, Bachinu, Gamalnu, Dibarnu Yofi, He'emanu, Vishtadalnu, Zacharnu, Chibaknu, Ta'amnu Sefer, Yatzarnu, Kamanu, Lachmanu Avor HaTzedek, Mitzinu et HaTov, Nisinu, Sarnu Lirot, Asinu Asher Tzivatanu, Parshanu, Tzadkanu Lefamim, Karanu B'Shimcha, Ratzinu, Samachnu, Tamachnu. We read together. We loved and we wept. We were kind and spoke thoughtfully. We were faithful and trusting. We put forth effort. We were mindful. We embraced. We took delight in the holy books. We were creative and we yearned. We fought for justice and searched out the good. We tried our best and we were attentive. We did what you commanded us to do. We found meaning in Torah, and most of the time we did what is right. We proclaimed your name and we were accepting. We were joyful and we cared. We turn to page 662 and we rise facing towards the east. We read responsively in the Hebrew and English. Avinu Malkeinu, Kabal Barachamim Uvratzon et Tfilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, welcome our prayer with love, accept and embrace it.
Avinu Malkeinu, Aseh Leman Rachmecha Harabim.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for the sake of your boundless compassion.
Avinu Malkeinu, Aseh Imanu Leman Shemecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chodmeinu B'Sefer Parnasa V'Chalkala.
Avinu Malkeinu, seal us in the book of sustenance and livelihood.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chodmeinu B'Sefer Zechuyot.
Avinu Malkeinu, seal us in the book of worthiness and merit.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chodmeinu B'Sefer Slicha U'Machila.
Avinu Malkeinu, seal us in the book of forgiveness and pardon.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chodmeinu B'Sefer Chayim Tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, seal us in the book of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chodmeinu B'Sefer Geula V'Yeshua.
Avinu Malkeinu, seal us in the book of redemption and renewal.
Avinu Malkeinu, Malei Yadeinu Mibirchotecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, let our hands overflow with your blessings.
Avinu Malkeinu, Ptach Sha'arei Shamayim Litfilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, let the gates of heaven be open to our prayer.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chadesh Aleinu Shana Tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew us for a year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu, Ein Lanu Melech Ele Ata.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have no sovereign but you.
And together we say, Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, answer us with grace when our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Aleinu, Aleinu, Keimanu Asim, Aseh Imanu, Tzedakah v'chesed.
We turn to page 668 as we continue with our Kaddish Shalem, our full Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ועלמא דברה חירותי ויעניק מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בגאלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולמאמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילא ולעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא
תושבחתה ונחמתה
דמירן בעלמא
אמן תתקבל צלותון ובהון דך בית ישראל קדם אבוהון דיבי שמיה ואמרו
אמן
יהי רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן
עושה שלום
במרומיו
הוא יעשה
שלום
עלינו עלינו ועל כל ישראל
ואמרו
We invite anyone who has a shofar with them that would like to participate in the final Tkiya Gedolah to join us on this bimah as we turn to page 672.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed Adonai Hu HaElohim 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 Adonai Hu HaElohim.
We say together, Tkiya Gedolah. Shkoyach. And we turn now to page 674 as we join together for Havdalah. Please feel free to do
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen borei peri hagafen yai lai la 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 yai la 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei besamim borei minei besamim la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei meorei ha'esh borei meorei ha'esh ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 la
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavdil ben kodesh lechol ben hu lechoshech ben Yisrael la'amim ben yom hashivi l'sheshet yamei ha'maseh Baruch atah Adonai hamavdil ben kodesh lechol. Hamavdil ben kodesh lechol Chatoteinu yimchol Zareinu v'chaspeinu yarbe kachol Behakochavim ba'layla Shana tova, Shana tova, Shana tova, Shana tova Shana tova, Shana tova, Shana tova, Shana tova. Eliyahu hanavi, Eliyahu hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu hagiladi, bimera b'yameinu. Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben David, Eliyahu hanavi, Eliyahu hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu hagiladi.
Shana
Shana
Tova.
Tova.
Shana Tova.
I'd like to do that drumming. That was nice.
It's like a long September, except we're in October, but it felt like a long September.
We're running, so. Okay. Good to see you.